4 American soldiers are killed by a landmine in Somalia. The president promises appropriate action. And Tropical Storm Brett claims scores of lives in Caracas, Venezuela. This is the CBS Evening News. And good evening, I'm Deborah Norville reporting. 4 American soldiers are dead tonight in Somalia, killed by a landmine attributed to the forces of warlord Mohammed Aidid. As Eric Engberg reports, this latest casualty in what started as a humanitarian effort has some in Washington saying it's time to rethink America's mission of mercy.
Gunfire erupted just outside Mogadishu, pinning down U.S. troops who sped to the area where 4 soldiers were killed when a landmine exploded underneath their Humvee. It was the heaviest loss suffered by U.S. troops since landing in Somalia. UN officials blamed fugitive warlord Mohammed Aidid. President Clinton, emerging from church in Washington, vowed an all-out effort to identify the attackers and punish them.
Of course, the United States condemns it. There are, regrettably, people who still have a vested interest in misery and murder and mayhem, and so our people are at risk.
The president indicated continuing support for the American military presence as part of the UN effort in Somalia.
We went there because 300,000 Somalis had died. Millions more lives were at risk. As a result of the mission there, food is flowing, medicine is flowing, schools have been reopened, crops have been replanted.
But the escalating violence, it was the 3rd ambush against Americans in a week, brought calls from Capitol Hill for tougher action against the warlords, even as the president urged caution.
We need to step up the efforts to find Aidid and to neutralize his forces. We shouldn't, I agree, allow this kind of cat-and-mouse game to go on in which Americans take casualties.
Maybe our mission has changed from a humanitarian mission to a warlike mission, and we better go back and take a look at it.
3 of the 4 Americans killed by the mine were based at Fort Riley, Kansas, where tonight soldiers were asking questions.
You know, you feel like you're down there with one hand tied behind your back because you're not really allowed to defend yourself most of the time against such things like that. And I hope they do something about this.
With 4,000 U.S. troops still on the ground in Somalia, the 4 latest fatalities increase pressure on the administration either to extricate itself from that country or to capture the warlord Aidid. Eric Engberg, CBS News, the White House.
Disaster in Venezuela where at least 70 people are dead and 3,000 are homeless in the aftermath of Tropical Storm Brett. Correspondent Diana Gonzalez says slum areas in Caracas bore the brunt of the storm.
Along the sidewalks of Caracas, relatives gathered to identify the dead. Despite being only a tropical storm, Brett claimed scores of lives in Venezuela's capital city. The slum areas were hardest hit by the 50-mile-an-hour winds and heavy rains. Rickety shacks built on the hillsides came tumbling down during mudslides. At least 300 are injured and thousands are homeless. Electricity and phone service have been knocked out. While the rains have now subsided, the River Guaire is overflowing. High waves along Venezuela's Caribbean coast forced the cancellation of ferries to the popular resort island of Margarita. But no major damage was reported there. The devastation was centered around the impoverished neighborhoods of Caracas, where rescue teams are now digging through the mud. A number of people are still missing and believed to be buried under the earth and debris. Diana Gonzalez, CBS News, Miami.
On the eve of a NATO conference on Bosnia, Allied military commanders agreed today on options for bombing Serb positions. But what could be a turning point in the conflict matters little to the victims of the war. Correspondent Alan Pizzi reports.
Her name is Irma. She's 5 years old. By the time you see these pictures, she may be dead. A victim as much of politics and bureaucracy as the mortar that killed her mother and tore into Irma's spine and brain.
If she goes out somewhere, she can survive. She will not even be a very difficult case, but in here she has no chance.
Irma needs a special medevac plane and a hospital that will take her immediately. But the world has been less than generous in offering medical help for cases like Irma, and Bosnian Serb gunners want plane schedules days in advance.
If suddenly you were to fly in a different kind of plane, that could create extreme risks for the people on the plane and for the airlift as well.
The generals who could make peace here are too busy practicing brinkmanship to worry about Irma and thousands like her. The Serbs are supposed to be pulling back from strategic mountains overlooking Sarajevo, but it's still not clear if the withdrawal is genuine. And under the guise of cooperation, the Bosnian Serb leadership is imposing new conditions. They want up to 2,000 UN troops moved in.
We will withdraw progressively. If they send 500, then and occupy one area, we will withdraw from that area. That's the replacement of troops.
So far, the UN has only managed to get small observer teams into the area. Occupation would mean pulling troops off missions vital to humanitarian relief. Progress on the pullout is seen as essential to the peace talks due to resume in Geneva this week. Bosnian President Alija Izetbegovic has been boycotting the negotiations, demanding that the Serbs remove their stranglehold on Sarajevo. Irma and her father know nothing of that. All their effort has been concentrated on staying alive and enduring the pain. Alan Pizzi, CBS News, Sarajevo.
Still ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, putting back the pieces after the flood of '93. And new grassroots strategies for fighting poverty and creating jobs.
Louise here was saying that she will not freeze her hearty chicken soup in Gladlock zipper bags.
No, I'll only use the bag my mother uses.
Really? Well, let's go live to your parents' house.
Louise, we've switched to Gladlock zipper bags. Their yellow and blue make green seal shows the bag is closed. Your bag doesn't have a green seal. If you'd visit more often, you'd know that.
I'll switch to Gladlock, too.
Isn't it nice to see Gladlock bringing families together? When it really counts, only Gladlock has the yellow and blue make green seal.
What would you do if I told you you could go on a fun ship cruise for under $10? Well, you can by calling for our video, Fun Ship Cruising. It'll show you all the things that make Carnival the most popular cruise line in the world. So call now and order your Fun Ship Cruising video. And I bet pretty soon you'll be out here enjoying the real thing. Come on, don't just sit there. Call.
Want a really nutritious cereal? You should be eating Kellogg's Complete Bran Flakes.
The usual, please.
Complete Bran Flakes has twice the fiber of that cereal.
I'll try that one.
Kellogg's Complete Bran Flakes has twice the vitamins and minerals. The only one with high fiber plus 14 vitamins and minerals, including beta-carotene.
I'll have Complete Bran Flakes.
High fiber plus vitamins and minerals. Kellogg's Complete Bran Flakes.
The worst of the great Midwestern flood now appears to be over, and people are scrambling to get back to normal. Some evacuees returned to their homes today, but as Sandra Hughes reports from St. Charles, Missouri, what they're finding is nothing like what they left.
Look at this whole back wall. It's all gone. It's gone.
Matt and Rhonda Vaughn will probably never move back into their flooded home. A recent boat trip proved what they had already feared. The house is destroyed.
There's no use to cry. It'll never make the water go away. It ain't going to give us a new house.
Like 6,000 other St. Louis area residents and 35,000 people in the flood region, the Vaughns were displaced by the flood of '93.
Living out of bags, a lot of arguing. We're all frustrated. The water, it's just making it hard on all of us.
Today, the Vaughns moved into a new apartment. The Red Cross and other agencies made the move possible by helping them financially. But finding a new home was the Vaughns' job. Not an easy task when thousands of other people are looking for affordable housing.
Sunday to Sunday, a whole week, trying to find something. We couldn't find nothing. I mean, we called all over trying to find something.
Because the flood of '93 has been such a prolonged disaster, some people still haven't been able to go inside their home and assess the damage. Officials say the long-term losses and relocation needs of flood victims won't be fully evaluated for at least a year.
The Midwest part of the country is a very proud area. And there comes a time in everyone's life where sometime, somehow, they have to ask for help.
Help not only in relocating, but in cleaning up after the water recedes.
People can't afford to replace a $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 home out of their pockets. It's just not that easy.
And if people can't replace their homes, they may flood the market with the need for affordable short-term or permanent housing. Flood victims like the Vaughns say available apartments and rental homes are drying up faster than the river and may leave some with no place to go. Sandra Hughes, CBS News, St. Charles, Missouri.
The strongest earthquake to hit the planet in 4 years rocked the U.S. territory of Guam. The quake measured at least 8.1 on the Richter scale and was centered to the southeast of the island's capital city of Agana. Bruce Dunning has more.
The world's strongest earthquake in 4 years hit around nightfall, knocking out power all across the island. Rescuers had to use flashlights as they searched for people trapped in the rubble. 2 floors of this tourist hotel collapsed.
You can see the whole entire hotel was just moving, rocking, and shaking, and everything in the room started falling down on top of you. It was like everybody just kind of dove under whatever was there. You know, it just wouldn't quit. It just kept going. It was incredible.
The quake lasted only about a minute, but it caused millions of dollars in damage on this island that was just recovering from a devastating hurricane almost exactly a year ago. Again, the people of this 30-mile-long island were terrified.
The whole thing shaking like a doll's house. It felt like I was in the doorway between the entrance to the house, and I was looking at the street just rocking, and the house is all bouncing around. It scared me to death.
Then the rocks started falling, and that was nobody knew where to run.
A hotel canopy collapsed, crushing cars underneath. Several bridges on the island broke apart, plunging cars into rivers and ravines. Aftershocks continued for several hours, but so far there are no reports of anyone killed, and most injuries seem to be minor. Still, several major hotels will be out of business for months, a serious blow to the tourist industry, which is Guam's economic mainstay. Bruce Dunning, CBS News, Tokyo.
Members of the American Bar Association gathered in New York this weekend, but topping their agenda was not some weighty legal matter. No, what's worried the nation's lawyers most is their image. Richard Threlkeld stopped by.
The lawyers at this American Bar Association convention are only too aware they're all under suspicion. Too often the rest of us regard them as greedy, selfish, and unprincipled.
I don't like it, and in most instances I think it's unwarranted.
I own up to being an attorney. I'm very much proud of it.
I'm not embarrassed to admit my profession, but I hate it when people ask me to tell a lawyer joke because it feeds into the image.
There's nothing funny about a new poll in the National Law Journal that shows more people than ever, almost 3 out of 4, think there are too many lawyers. Maybe there are. Lawyers are increasing at 4 times the rate of the rest of the population, and their median income, $67,000 a year, is almost 3 times more than what most people make. Lawyers portrayed in the movies these days aren't seeking justice, they're after the good life.
I used to caddy for young lawyers, often work on weekdays, and their wives. I'd look at those long tan legs and just knew I had to be a lawyer. The wives had long tan legs, too.
Of course, the lawyers do have a real-life role model, Attorney General Janet Reno, who the polls show is now almost as widely admired as another no-nonsense lawyer, Abraham Lincoln.
I made the decision. I'm accountable. The buck stops with me.
I proudly and humbly present you this Margaret Brent Women Lawyers of Achievement Award.
So the ABA has made her as prominent as possible, hoping that some of her popularity is transferable, and even hired a public relations man to deal with Americans' fear and loathing of lawyers.
We've dedicated this year to addressing public frustrations, not just with the legal profession, but also with the entire justice system.
Although there are some here who think lawyers' problems go far beyond appearances.
I think that probably the best way to clean up your image is to have a clean act.
Later this year, the Bar Association's planning a national conference to explore ways to salvage the good name of the legal profession and alter a verdict that's become all too common in the court of public opinion, namely that a lawyer is somebody who helps you get exactly what's coming to him. Richard Threlkeld, CBS News, New York.
One prominent attorney reportedly has decided not to practice law for now. Former Vice President Dan Quayle told the Indianapolis Star that he'll head a financial services company and write a newspaper column while he ponders his political future. Quayle says the only post he'd run for would be president.
It was my first serious dinner at his family's. So much food.
This is Greg's favorite dish.
And my first serious heartburn. I learned some things.
Oh, no, these are different. Tums has calcium.
Most antacids don't. Of all these, the only one that helps wipe out heartburn and gives you calcium you need every day is Tums.
Something my body needs anyway. I like that.
Calcium-rich Tums.
Why Centrum Silver? Because you're over 50 and you're just hitting your stride. Centrum Silver vitamins. Because the latest scientific research about changing nutritional needs after 50 is built in. Centrum Silver. It's a great time to be silver.
While you weren't looking, something magical happened. The durability of an oil-based enamel and the easy cleanup of a latex came together. Hard to believe? Try it and see. New Duratex Colors Enamels from Red Devil for the finish of a lifetime.
Now, Hart's long-term flea and tick protection is not just for white-collar dogs and cats.
Hart's Yummies?
The famous Hart's 2-in-1 flea and tick-killing collars now come in fabulous colors. So every dog and cat can feel comfortable with the powerful benefits of Hart's 2-in-1 protection. Protection that works for up to 5 months, wet or dry. Pets are jumping for joy wearing their 2-in-1 colored collars. Just ask any flea or tick. These are drop-dead colors.
There's no way I can turn him into a normal child.
It's part of the healthcare debate. Should we keep everybody alive, no matter the cost? 60 Minutes, tonight.
Despite years of government programs, almost 36 million Americans are still below the poverty line. More and more, the hard work of turning things around is falling to grassroots organizations. That's our Sunday cover, efforts to help the poor that seem to be working. Silhouetted against the hot Los Angeles sun, unemployed and minimum wage workers tend tiny garden plots carved out of unused city land.
We grown cabbage, radishes, squash, spinach, you know.
So what are you going to be doing today?
From the mix, when it gets mixed here.
On the other side of the country in Yonkers, New York, the Greystone Bakery, founded by a Zen Buddhist, hires the homeless, people who've beaten drugs, laid off workers down on their luck. No questions asked. All with privately raised funds, and now bakery profits.
They simply need a decent job, decent wages, a chance to exercise responsibility and authority, and that's what everybody else wants.
The bakery and the urban garden in Los Angeles are part of a new approach to fighting poverty. Start at the grassroots level under the management of local people, give the needy a role in their own destiny, and then turn to Washington.
There is a lot of rethinking about how to deal with problems of poor neighborhoods in ways other than simply starting big programs in Washington or Albany or wherever and having all those things planned and implemented from the top down.
Alfredo Deonda and members of 114 other families all keep what they grow in the garden plots on the edge of riot-damaged South Central LA, thanks to the ingenuity of one woman.
The urban garden in Los Angeles enables people to grow their own food rather than being dependent on getting it from others, and it also provides job training skills.
Doris Block runs the Los Angeles Regional Food Bank, where getting food to the hungry is top priority. Founded with private funds and donations, Doris is taking the food bank a step further, enlisting city and federal help to turn 7.5 acres of vacant land into gardens for poor families to farm.
This business of doing huge projects without any kind of small testing is doomed to failure. And this is where the change must occur.
In just 2 years, the workers at the Greystone Bakery have pulled it out of the red and made it profitable.
The people who work here, we're the people who run the bakery.
No federal funds are used at the bakery, but now Greystone offers federally subsidized apartments for the homeless at the nearby Greystone Family Inn.
Hi, Daddy. Hello.
Jerome Lee lives in the Greystone Family Inn, is president of its tenants association, and is working on plans to let families buy their apartments.
You have a 7-year-old boy.
Yes.
How will his life be different because you found this place?
I feel that my son can look up to me because I'm doing positive things. I have a job.
More than 2,000 community development groups have been formed since the mid-'80s to help the poor, and many of those organizations themselves need help in the form of federal money.
Efferdent users, what would get you to switch to new Denture Cream?
If it got my dentures cleaner.
Denture Cream cleans twice as clean as Efferdent.
If it got them fresher.
Now Denture Cream is even mintier.
Cleaner.
Fresher.
Better. Switch to new Denture Cream.
I want this to look perfect on my daughter, but a bit of arthritis pain doesn't help. My doctor recommended Advil by name. Advil contains the same medicine he prescribes for many patients, but in non-prescription strength. Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
Of all the things around your house that need batteries, there's one thing that needs a good, fresh battery most of all. See your Allstate agent for a free home fire safety brochure. And please, check the battery in your smoke detector often.
Anna wants me to try something I've never tasted before.
It's the Kellogg's Mueslix.
Oh, don't you just love the way she talks?
The taste of the Kellogg's Mueslix cereal is very surprising.
Hey, this is very surprising.
It's got plump raisins.
They are plump.
The flakes very crispy in the Kellogg's Muesli.
It's crispy.
The crunchy almonds, the brown sugar, and the yummy dates.
It's yummy.
Surprise yourself with the fabulous taste of Kellogg's Mueslix.
No. Kellogg's Mueslix.
The three top Palestinian negotiators in the peace talks with Israel reportedly have decided to resign. One is delegation spokeswoman Hanan Ashwari. Sources say the three are opposed to what they consider undue PLO concessions on Palestinian self-rule. The Coast Guard says the fire at a Phillips oil storage facility off the Louisiana coast has been put out. As many as 5 of 8 storage tanks caught fire after being hit by lightning. No one was hurt, and workers are now cleaning up a mile-long slick of spilled crude. Around Hollywood these days, when they talk about Heidi, you can bet they're not talking about the children's movie set in the Alps. What they're talking about is a woman who's known as the Madam to the Stars. Bill Agatuda reports.
Please talk to my lawyer and don't believe everything you hear.
For the moment, she is the most powerful woman in Hollywood, relentlessly dogged by the press. Here she is coming home the other night. Her name is Heidi Fleiss, a 27-year-old party girl who for years played among the rich and famous and may now have the goods on them. The daughter of a prominent Los Angeles doctor, Heidi has been, according to police, running Tinseltown's biggest prostitution ring.
Heidi's not a call girl, she's a highline madam, probably the largest madam in Los Angeles, possibly in Southern California.
And when police arrested her, the rumors began to fly. Who is in her black book, and would she name names?
I think we do know already, or have strong reason to believe, that this scandal has moved fairly high up the food chain. Will it hit the very, very top levels? No one knows. No one knows because for the moment, both Heidi and the police are keeping quiet, though at one point she told a reporter she'd sell her names for $1 million. Here in a town where careers are made or broken on publicity, there's a lot of sweating going on.
I think marriages could break up if she has to name names.
Some of the big studios seem to be in the line of fire. Columbia is said to be investigating reports movie money was used to pay for prostitutes. A top executive issued a statement saying he had nothing to do with her. That is the most often heard line here. I may have known Heidi, but I never did business with her. Tomorrow, as she goes to court for the first time, all of Hollywood will be watching, nervously. Bill Agatuda, CBS News, Hollywood.
A clarification now from our July 18th Sunday cover on Karen Gunn, who mediates tensions between Korean-American merchants in Chicago and their African-American customers. Karen Gunn is employed by Korean-American Community Services, and her salary is financed by a grant to that organization from the United Way.
My daughter can spot a cute boy at 150 yards. It's finding a tomato that gives her trouble.
Whirlpool thinks anybody should be able to find anything they need in a refrigerator.
If I hear, "Where's the ketchup?" one more time, I'll scream.
Don't scream. This Whirlpool refrigerator has see-through bins, shelves that slide, and up-front lighting.
I like to see my kids fend for themselves.
Whirlpool, how to make a home run.
I know what I like and don't like. I don't like irregularity. It slows me down. I don't like harsh chemical laxatives. I like natural, like new smooth texture, regular flavored Metamucil. It's the only natural fiber with no sweeteners, no added flavors, as well as no grit. I don't like those. So it's easy to take, easy to get the extra fiber I need, and it works just the way I expect from Metamucil, to get the body up and running. I like that.
Metamucil, the natural choice for regularity.
I used pressure-treated lumber, and I still have $800 in water damage. How come?
Even treated wood needs Thompson's Water Seal Waterproofer.
This patio was supposed to last for years. Now I have $1,200 in damage. Why?
Your concrete wasn't protected with Thompson's Water Seal Waterproofer. Thompson's protects wood, brick, and concrete. Without it, you're wide open for water damage. Don't wait until it's too late.
Let it rain. This time I use Thompson's, a great defense against repair expense.
When it comes to raking in the dollars, Japan is proving just as easy a pushover as America for the residents of Jurassic Park. But Japanese movie makers hope to return the favor, as we hear from James Hattori.
Like a velociraptor ravaging its prey, dinosaur mania is consuming Japan. No surprise in a country that's never met a fad it didn't like. I like them because they're big, this 3-year-old says. Big business, too. An American company produced these nearly full-size models at Tokyo's Dino Park for as much as $500,000 each.
We want them to feel how big the dinosaur is.
The cash monster, which sparked this prehistoric renaissance, Jurassic Park, is devouring box office records in Japan. The distributors say it will top $90 million in sales. Japanese merchandisers who know a Hyposaurus when they see one have flooded stores with all manner of dino junk. Factories are working overtime producing it all. This $180 model is very popular, the manager says. We can't keep up with demand. While dinosaurs have universal appeal, the Japanese have their own special fascination. One company uses them to advertise, "Hungry? Cup of noodle." There's a new film called Rex. The old girl meets dinosaur, girl adopts dinosaur, dinosaur wears funny clothes. You know the story. Quite the opposite from the old man of pre-Jurassic monsters, Godzilla, the dinosaur wannabe who made Tokyo his stomping grounds. Symbolism which some Japanese compared to the U.S. keeping their country underfoot after World War II.
People have that love-hate relationship. America was a benevolent conqueror, and people have that kind of awe, admiration towards Godzilla as well.
And even Godzilla can smell a good opportunity, it seems. His producers are already shooting the next film in which, for the first time, he sets foot in America, perhaps to claim his share of the profits. James Hattori, CBS News, Tokyo.
And that's the news this evening. Coming up on 60 Minutes, the debate over when to use high-tech medical procedures to prolong human life. Later, join Bill Plant with the CBS Sunday Night News. I'm Deborah Norville in New York. Thanks for being with us. Have a good evening.
Experience CBS News.
Their union called a strike. They weren't fired, but they were replaced permanently. It's legal, but is it right? Eye on America investigates tomorrow on the CBS Evening News. This is CBS.